I'd like to introduce our next presenter, Marc Wolf. Recently wrote and starred in the film Don't Ask, Don't Tell. The film is adapted from Wolf's Obie Award-winning solo show, Another American, Asking and Telling, which was first produced in 1999 when Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy was in effect. A revival was produced off-Broadway in 2010. Don't Ask, Don't Tell was still in effect. And the play was then adapted into the film. The play takes audiences on a national tour of sexual politics, the American military, sanctioned discrimination, and its human fallout. Marc created the play's text from the interviewee's actual words. Over a 3-year period, he conducted interviews with over 150 straight, gay, lesbian military personnel, from World War II vets to anonymous active duty service members, in addition to civil rights lawyers, federal judges, professors, and politicians. Please welcome Marc Wolf, who will present selections from Another American, Asking and Telling.
So tonight I'm going to introduce you to, I think, about 6 people who I interviewed. I use this script here because I change the order around, and sometimes I'll need it to find my place. So the first 2 characters are women who I met. They've been together in a relationship for about 15 years. Both of them are former military. I can't tell you where I met them because they need to remain anonymous, but I can tell you that we're somewhere west of the Mississippi and south of Colorado. I had to figure out how to differentiate them in performance, which it ended up being kind of easy because one of the women chain smoked for the entire interview, so she sort of became this woman. And then another woman basically was chain drinking Coors beers. And when she finished one, she just hopped up and got another one right away. So there's a tape recorder in front of them on the table, and they're talking to me. Would we have let you interview us 5 years ago? No, absolutely not. Do we feel totally safe with what you're going to do with this? Probably. Yeah, I do. More so. I'm a little hesitant. I'm sitting here thinking, what are we doing here? Spilling our guts to this guy we don't even know? What I told Anna Mae, don't say the name. Bleep, bleep. What I told her, when you come out, I said, you know, he could be a spook from the spook shop or something, come down here to find out something about us. So you could be part of the old-time witch hunt people, because I want to quit if you are. Let's get this over with right quick. Go ahead and get me out of this. Maybe it'll help in some way, help somebody. It probably won't help us, because we're not going to change. Maybe it'll help a youngster realize she doesn't have to be such a band waver all the time. Some of the kids are going to get in trouble, advancing in their ranks, in their career, if they don't keep their mouths shut about who they sleep with. And I can guarantee you that the military just... I thought it was stupid President Clinton to do anything to do with the military. He's a draft dodger. I think it's inappropriate for a draft dodger to take on a military question. Where was he in Vietnam? I saw young men come back without legs. He's sitting in England, and I really have strong feelings about that, and I'm sure the young men that don't have legs anymore have strong feelings too. I didn't think the military would change regardless of what happened to the ban. And I know with or without a ban, I would not have changed anything I did. So I think, to me, it was an irrelevant gesture. Even if they didn't lift it, and did they? Well, they did lift it, didn't they? No, it's not. Oh, that's right. There are still a lot of gay people. You can be on active duty. Oh, it's no tell, no ask. Don't, no tell. Don't ask, no tell. Don't ask, don't tell. Okay. Okay, that's what it is. Well, that's what it's been all along anyway. One of my recruiters knew that I was gay. After I signed my contracts, it was about 4:45, and he said, well, I'm going to take off early today. We walked 2 blocks down the road to the Gizmo, which was the most infamous gay bar in the city. Apparently, he was quite a regular customer at that bar there, because we walked in and everybody went, Bob, you know? It's like Norm walking into Cheers, you know? Had a drink. He never came out to me and said, I am gay. He never made any sexual advances or things like that, but just through body language and our conversation, and then, of course, going to the Gizmo and having a drink, you know, he really didn't have to confess. So I joined, and off I went to boot camp. I just knew for sure it was a life of celibacy. You know, there goes, my sex life's over, you know, I'll be blind and buried with hairy palms by the time I'm 25. Well, there was one afternoon when the platoon, when I think they were out at the confidence course or something, and I had been left behind as fire watch. It was my turn. So a drill instructor, or an assistant drill instructor, said that he's getting in the shower. And he said, while I'm in here, you clean the duty hut. So, I mean, I did. No, he was this big, strong, masculine, you know, hunky Marine with arms like this, you know, very light mulatto skin, which I've always had an affinity for. And it was an instant hint to me because he left the bathroom door open. He even left the shower door open, you know, and made it a point to soap very well, like in plain view. I was sweeping up, you know, I was looking up and smiling. Of course, it's always possible that someone from another platoon or one of the OICs or something walk in and, you know, knock on the door. But, you know, the flies were closed, the curtains were drawn, the shades were pulled, and I went in. Yeah. Oh, I love to shower. He was nearly twice my size. You know, I'm a small man as far as American men go, but he was very big, very muscular. I mean, when he picked me up out of the shower, he literally just picked me up like a baby and took me into the duty hut to the rack. And you know, that's when he seemed kind of shocked. You know, it was like, this is my first time. I said, you know, to be on the bottom. I don't mean to have sex with a guy, but to be on the bottom. So, you know, I was surprised because he was just so gentle, and he was the first Marine that I ever kissed. Most Marines won't kiss. Fuck them all night long, but don't dare kiss them. I don't know why. The thing I always found amazing about Marines is you can have any kind of kinky, raunchy, whatever sex you want, but don't kiss them. The only thing you can't do is kiss them. But oh, when you find a Marine that likes to kiss, there's nothing better. I don't want people to get the idea that the Marine Corps is rampant with homosexual activity. But it is. Envision living in a situation 24 hours a day, 60 minutes an hour, 60 seconds a minute, with somebody aiming a rifle at you. And as a young kid, till I was able to block it all, I'd be going along and I'd see me in my head, and I'd see a North Korean up in a tree looking at me like that. I'm in his sights, right? And I would start going, why? I swear to God, because I knew he was up in that tree. Or another terrible thing I had was I saw
an enemy mortar gunner turning the wheel, and a guy standing behind him putting a shell down the tube. And I had to, you go crazy if you maintain that stuff in your brain. So I had to dismiss that. Most of the soldiers that are in infantry, that are in Marines, that do the dying stuff, most of the people that are dying age and do the dying business are far from the people of the Air Force or operating their computer, flying around their airplane, don't really get into the killing stuff. They've got to believe that they're bulletproof. There's a thing of machoism, that they got to swagger, they got to be tough, and they got to think they're bulletproof, and they got to think that they wear golden armor. No bullet can ever hit them. And if you don't have that mentality that it ain't going to happen to me, there's no bullet around here that's got my name on it, if you don't have that, then you just couldn't go through, you crack up. So if you in any way remove this golden armor, this machoism, then you fuck with a guy's head. And when you fuck with a guy's head, it's all over. Because the most important thing in combat, the kind of combat we just talked about, is man. Now I lost my place. I'm going to have to go back. Look, okay, one sec. Because the most important aspect, okay. All right, the most important aspect in battle is not the F-22. It's not the Abrams tank. It's not the HS Cruiser. The most important thing is man. And the most important thing in combat, the kind of combat we just talked about, is the spirit of man. And if you fuck with that spirit in any way, you destroy him. So the thing you don't want to ever change in the American fighting man, don't tamper with that spirit. And don't tamper with the warrior ethic, which the two come together. I'm a warrior. I can do 150, 500 push-ups, and so on. And I think that trying to force-feed gays into combat units would disrupt that spirit. And it could put the nation in jeopardy. The national defense of the United States in jeopardy.
I was one of the lucky ones pulled through. Thank God I did. Oh. You know, you pass them on the street, and I go, man, I can see how they lost it. I mean, really, you know, because, I mean, for me being there, and I see these people out on the street, and I go, man, I can see how they lost it. Because it only takes a couple seconds to be in that whole war zone, to see all that around you, to lose it. And I go, oh, now I think I screwed up again. Wait a minute. I mean, man, no, I got it right. All right. I can see, and it only takes a couple seconds to be in that whole war zone, to see all that around you, to lose it. And I go, damn. Mary Alice pulled through, you bastard, which was my nickname which was my nickname. But that's a whole nother story in Vietnam. My nickname over there for 10 and a half months, Mary Alice. Yeah, how they gave me that nickname. Oh, well. Some days it was 130 degrees in Vietnam. 130. And when you come back from out in the fields every day from fighting, you're exhausted, you are hot. I mean, more than hot. See, 130 is, man. And then plus with that steel pot on my head, and then all the ammunition and grenades hanging on you. Anyway, when you come back from fighting out in the fields, you just want to just take that steel pot off and look up and go, thank God that you made another day. I'll just stop and take a little break. I'll be okay in a couple seconds. Sometimes I get choked up, but that's okay. I'm all right. But they put me, Well, I'll have to wait a couple seconds. I was in the Mekong Delta. It was the worst booby-trapped area in Vietnam. All of Vietnam is the worst booby-trapped area. They take you out by helicopter, and they drop you off out into an area out in the rice paddies. And those helicopters didn't land right on the ground, and you just step out like you're walking down a red rug. No. You jump out that helicopter like John Wayne. There I am with a goddamn rifle up like this, and you jump in the rice paddies. You got water up to here. Oh, man. Every day. And at the end of the day, you come back with not all your friends. And some days you come back with all your friends, yeah. The days you don't come back with your friends, you are a mess. And I'm not saying friends, but you're just like if three of us go out and you go, we didn't bring one back. Where am I? I got a steel pot on my head. I got a headache again, you bastard. Oh, anyway, I took my jungle fatigues, and I would cut them off. And it was sort of like the real macho guys, you know, they cut them off down to their knees. I had mine cut off where the cheeks of my ass was hanging out. It's hot. You don't cut them off down to here, be fucking pulling them up anyway. So anyway, I cut them off. And there I am, like 80 pounds, real skinny, with my cheeks and my ass hanging out. And of course, there I am walking. And I never really had no full masculine walk. They're always like stuck together. And I'm walking, I'm walking around. Not thinking anything ladylike about my way I'm walking. And before you know it, they go, well, check Mary Alice out. So they started calling me Mary Alice, and that was my whole nickname for Vietnam for 10 and a half months, and it was okay to call Mary Alice. It didn't bother me at all. They go, well, check him out, Mary Alice. I picked the morale right up. That's Mary Alice. Oh, man, I played house in the bunker, tidied it up. Could I have it looking like this? I tidied it up. I made a screen door. And we had screen all around the top. Little fancy sis touch to the bunker. There was 11 of us, and wait a minute. Eleven guys were in my bunker, and they all pulled through. All 11. And I just said, I just think it was me that pulled them all through. I really do. Yeah, I kept them all laughing. And we cried together, too, and that's okay. A big part how I pulled through is because I think because I laughed and cried. A lot of people don't cry. I did, goddamn nerves. No wonder I cried, man. But a lot of people hold it all in. They really do. I cried and laughed the whole time. The problem started when Leonard Matlovich was on the cover of Newsweek, 1975, and I said, why are they kicking him out? Well, I said, well, who cares? And so what happened was, I guess I started asking too many questions, and I got called in and was asked, Sergeant Bin Shalom, are you a homosexual? And I said, yes, although I don't like that term. Homosexual is an adjective. They proceeded to, find me that I was going to be considered for discharge, and they recommended that I take a psychiatric evaluation, and I asked if it was a direct order, and they said, no, they're recommending it, and I said, I refuse to do so. I am a lesbian. I am not sick. There's a difference. And inside myself, I said, well, this really stinks, except I used another word. And if I were not speaking to a tape recorder, I might use much stronger language. And I went public with it. It wasn't fun because there were darn few of us who were public in those days. And to be a Jewish lesbian from the Midwest was even a rarer thing. I had my brake lines cut. I also had the lug nuts on the drive wheel of the vehicle I owned at the time loosened. The wheel did come off. If it had come off at expressway speeds, it probably would have rolled. I probably would have been killed. I was a vocal gay activist, and I was fair game back then. And oh yeah, you know, the good old days weren't exactly the good old days. I mean, lots of phone calls in the middle of the night, people threatening to kill me, to disembowel me, to shoot me, you know, people screaming at me. I remember one time, one black lady called me the Antichrist, which is hilarious because I'm a Jew, and I told her as much. I said, I can't be, you know, I'm not the Antichrist. Hello, Jewish person here, you know. I had the same thing down in Clearwater, Tampa. There's a bunch of yahoos down there. I kid you not, in pointy white hats and white sheets. I'm a northern girl. I'd never seen this before. Okay, first my joke is I was offended because their shoes didn't match their dresses, okay? But I watched 1,500 gay people freeze because the KKK and Aryan Nation, these young punks with their, you know, black fatigues and their shaven heads were over there. And I stood there and I faced them and I said my name, my rank, my serial number and said, here I am. What will you do? And when they didn't do anything, I deliberately turned my back on them and walked away. Yes, my shoulder blades were twitching, but it is the only thing you can do in the face of things like that because it takes away their power. And we've digressed from the 70s. I apologize. Would you like me to go back? In 1978, or excuse me, in May of, I beg pardon, wrong date. In May of 1980, the Eastern Federal District Court, Judge Terrence Evans of Wisconsin, ordered a writ of mandamus and had ordered me reinstated. The Army ignored that writ of mandamus for 7 years. And I actually had to go back to court and notify the court that their writ of mandamus had never been enforced. The Army promptly sent me a check for $1,500 saying this is my back pay, and I never cashed it. I gave it to my attorney. I said, this is the wrong amount of pay anyhow, but that's not the point here. I want my job back. I was ordered reinstated. And so I waited and I waited and I waited. Well, I had to go back to court, notify the court. So finally, I went back in 1987. Yeah, I was the first openly gay person in the history of this country to go back in and serve under court order. And I went back in. And interestingly enough, it was the black troops who sat down and ate chow with me. I was sitting at this table all by myself. Nobody would look at me. Nobody would sit with me. I didn't say anything. And it was black enlisted people came and sat down with me. They would not allow me to re-enlist. So that began a second case, which I eventually lost under the silly seventh ruling of speech equals conduct, which I always found very interesting, that because I refused to lie and therefore self-identified by virtue of telling the truth, that somewhere, somehow I would do something. Whatever happened to the Constitution? And it's the same, I mean, I think it's hilarious. It's the same issue that's being argued in most of the cases this day. It's the speech issue. Don't ask, don't tell, don't pursue. Speech. Speech. Simple ability to talk about what your life is, and people do all the time. Speech. I mean, we aren't talking about sashaying down the main drag of the military base while wearing lavender fatigues. We aren't talking about misbehaving, or bad conduct here. We're talking about speech. Thank you.